Welcome back to Orlando Out of Context. What episode is this?
I wrote it at the top.
It's at the top? Oh,
right
it's
there,
episode 46. So welcome, I'm Brian.
I'm Stephanie.
And we have a special guest today. Welcome, Kristi.
Hey, girl.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
It's Kristi Hamby, to be
soon
precise.
to be Burke. I actually just got married.
That's right,
so
you did.
Oh,
I'm in the middle
congrats.
of the name change, but I'm trying to just stick with Kristi Paints. You know,
Okay.
it's kind of what
Yes.
I'm trying to rebrand as.
So if you want to go seek her out, it is Kristi Paints at Instagram.
Kristi Paints Orlando on Instagram and Kristi Paints on Facebook.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Very easy.
Well, Kristi, you...
So that tells you guys what she does and what the episode is going to be about.
Straight to the
Spoiler!
That's what I was going to say. So you are a painter.
I am.
And mainly your Instagram feed features murals. Is that...
Yeah, I do a lot of public art.
Okay.
I like big projects.
Okay.
So any chance I can get to paint on a big wall or any
Cool.
type of surface in the city, I'm down for.
So we're definitely going to get into the nitty gritty of that. We're
Okay.
really excited to talk to you. So tell us a little bit about, we kind of like to start it off with first of all, where are you from originally?
I'm from Gainesville, so a couple hours north.
So Gainesville, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
Yep.
you're a Floridian.
I am.
Okay.
Born and raised.
So how did you get down here to Orlando?
I just needed a change. I was born and raised in Gainesville. I was there for 20-something years, and I didn't really like the small town vibe. I felt like Orlando just had more to offer.
Okay.
At the time that I moved to Orlando, I was actually in the skincare industry. I was a makeup artist. I did facials, body waxing, things like that.
Do you ever do body painting?
No, I've never done body painting.
I think that would be so fun.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to do the painting, but I also think it'd be fun to get painted too.
Yeah.
I'd be so down for it.
And it's amazing how paint truly transforms a naked body. Like,
really
I used to go to
does.
this bar downtown, Magos. It no longer exists. And they used to have one night a week where they would paint all of the people that worked there.
Oh, that's
So,
fun.
you know, it doesn't even look like bare boobs, honestly. It just looks like whatever they painted on you.
Right.
It's really
you
cool.
have to like really search out for body parts
Yeah,
because of
yeah.
how easily they can kind of camouflage.
And there's a whole show. I think it's Skin Wars.
I think
There's
so.
a whole show about it. And then we've actually reached out to somebody, so we might have a body painter on the show maybe a little bit later this year. So cool.
That's awesome.
So you paint walls.
I do. And canvas.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. So you do canvas work as well?
I do.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. So you came to Orlando because you were tired of the small city.
Yeah, and I actually came to Orlando in seek of more opportunity for my skincare industry or
Okay.
skin business.
Are you a licensed esthetician?
I was. I let my license expire years ago because I stepped out of the skincare industry and I just never wanted to go back. The beauty industry just isn't for me anymore. And it was a big part of my life at one point. But when I moved to Orlando, I actually wanted to further that career. I moved with the intention of possibly becoming like an educator in the field. And things just actually went south for me very quickly in the industry. I got to a spa first thing and things didn't work out there. They closed down. Like there were lawsuits. It was like crazy drama. Yeah.
There were signs directing you out of the industry.
Completely.
Gotcha.
Yeah, 100%. And I was at that time, I went through a pretty severe bout of depression pretty much 6 months after moving here. And I was just questioning, like, what am I going to do? Skincare was my life. I've been doing it since I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what direction to go. And I just started painting as a way to kind of, you know, as a therapy to
Sure.
kind of escape the depression. And then from there, it's
Were you
grown.
always into art, like even in high school and
I've
stuff?
always been a creative person. I didn't paint a lot growing up. I was an actress when I was younger, so I was like I've always been involved in the arts in some way. I've always been crafty, but I didn't really start painting until after I really moved to Orlando.
Okay, cool.
That's cool. I hear a lot of that sometimes when I'm watching stuff. Like sometimes I watch a lot of YouTube creators, and that's sometimes their story. Like I made my first video because I was like, you know, going through something. I was going through divorce. I felt lonely, and you know, being creative just helped me to, you know, connect with other people.
Yeah, and I feel like when you create, you are totally in control of what you are creating. And so it's a way to kind of regain control in your life.
Right.
I feel like.
So did you meet your husband here in Orlando?
No, I met him in Gainesville. We've been together for 9 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Just got
Congrats.
married a couple weekends ago.
Where did you find him?
We met at a karaoke bar. I
Oh.
was singing and he was pretty drunk and he ran up on stage and stole my microphone and started singing. And
What song were you singing?
Friends in Low Places.
Oh, that's a classic.
Yeah.
Did you sing it at your wedding together?
We actually just had a celebration after the wedding because our wedding was up in North Carolina, so it was a very small, intimate ceremony. All our family's down here, so we came back to Gainesville the following weekend, had a big celebration at the karaoke bar that we met, had karaoke and sang Friends in Low Places.
So what took you up north to get married? Just because you wanted to?
I love North Carolina.
Okay.
My husband and I have been up there, I can't even count how many, maybe 10 times in the last year. Like, we just go. Anytime we, get the itch, we go. We like to mountain bike. We like hiking. We love being in the mountains.
I've never been to the Carolinas, but I hear it's really nice in the Carolinas. I think my brother-in-law wants to move to the Carolinas.
I want to move to the Carolinas.
Yeah.
I've got a lot going for me here right now, so it'll be a little while. But
right.
Eventually, I hope to end up there.
So tell us, is painting and being an artist your full-time, is it a full-time job?
That's such a funny question. I feel like anytime I talk to anybody about being an artist, that's like definitely one of the very first
top
questions
question
that comes up. It's like, so what do you really do?
Right.
You're an artist.
Really pays your bills?
What do you actually do? But no, I'm an artist full time. That's what I do.
Awesome.
I might do some side things here and there. I used to do promotional work. Go to the wine shop and sell wine for 3 hours. Independent kind of contractor work. But so I might do stuff like that here and there just to kind of make up for the lull times, but I stay pretty consistent with my art these days, especially like from the beginning of the year. Pretty much I've been pretty booked up.
So we have I don't know if you would say a lot of questions, but we're extremely curious about your work with like in public space. So I'll let Stephanie kind of take it from here.
So when you're driving through the city of Orlando, you see a lot of we're getting a lot of murals, and I always wonder, is that something that the city commissions you to do? Is it a passion thing? Do you get paid for it? Or is it something that you do for the community or the business that the wall is connected to?
It's kind of all everything that you just said. It really depends on the project. There are times when someone might, an artist might just have an idea, see a wall and say, I want to paint that. And then they'll go and do all the legwork and get the grants or get funding from the city, talk to the business owners. A lot of what I do is usually commissioned by the city. My first few public art projects, the storm drains that I did.
We had that on our list to talk about.
Those were all commissioned by the city. They put out a call to artists looking for artists to do it from the beginning. And then after I did a few, it was actually the residents of Thornton Park neighborhood that wanted to kind of beautify their side of town, and so they reached out to the people that commissioned me and kind of got in touch with me to do that. So they actually hired me. It was funded by the residents in Thornton Park, which was pretty cool.
Oh wow.
And then I've done College Park mural that was funded by the College Park Neighborhood Association. So it's kind of all over the place. It could be funded privately or by the city, by a grant. It really just depends on the project and who's wanting to
So
do
did they ask you to come up with an idea, or do they already have an idea?
That again depends. The very first storm drains I ever did was just a public call to artists saying, this is what we're looking for, you design it, send it to us. So that's what I did. And same thing with the Thornton Park parking garage. I just kind of came up with my own idea and they let me go with it. Now some are more strict. I just recently did a project with a collaborative that I formed, an all-female art collaborative in Thornton Park. And that one was more themed. They said, we want to celebrate women's suffrage. And so, they gave us the theme and we just kind of ran away with the idea. We came up with several different renderings before we actually came to a decision. So sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get there. And, especially the more people involved in judging or picking the final rendering, that can make things a little more complicated too, because everybody has a different vision,
right.
How they want things to go.
Last month I saw a new mural, a Freddie Mercury mural.
Oh, so cool.
And I was just wondering, like, why they chose that. Because, I mean, it really doesn't have anything to do with Orlando or the building that
artist?
It was on.
Never. I don't know if he goes by something else, but...
It's beautiful. I loved it. It was great. But I just wonder always the stories behind the choices. Mm-hmm. Because when you look at a lot of city murals, like a couple weeks ago, we went to St. Pete and Tampa, and we saw a lot of murals. One of them was a Salvador Dali mural, and of course the Salvador Dali Museum is there. Mm-hmm. So, and Makes then sense. I was in Tulsa in May, and they have a lot of Tulsa heritage, public figures over the years, musical idols and everything. So I just was wondering what Freddie Mercury is doing in Orlando.
Everybody has their own way of, expressing themselves and their creativity. I a lot of times like to be inspired by my environment. So majority of my public art is inspired by what's around me, Orlando themed. I did a Sanford piece that was kind of Sanford themed. So I like to kind of stick within theme, but who knows, eventually I might branch out and paint something wacky on a wall. Who knows?
So something comes to mind, like more technical. Like, what do you have to do to ensure your paint sticks? Mm-hmm. Like avoiding fading, like from the sun. Mm-hmm. And then if you're painting a storm drain, like what's the process of that to make sure that your piece of art
gets preserved?
Yeah. Well, the storm drains. It's funny, with those being my first public project ever, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I just kind of threw myself in. I'm Googling, trying to figure out what paint to use.
How to paint on cement or metal or whatever.
Yes, it was a big guessing game pretty much, but that's just kind of how I am. I throw myself into things and I just learn as I go. And I got very lucky with that. I use latex paint. It's, like basic house paint, indoor, outdoor. For any outdoor mural, obviously, I'm going to use the heavy-duty outdoor stuff. Sometimes I'll layer my colors. My last College Park mural, I actually did 2 to 4 layers of color over some of the parts, just so they kind of really stayed vibrant for as long as possible.
That doesn't make it chip?
No, it doesn't. As long as you wait.
Yeah, I always see it Disney. So one of Disney's favorite things to do when the paint chips is just paint over it again. So there'll be parts of, when it starts chipping, you see how thick. You see how thick and it just, you could just pull it and chip it, and it goes on how many layers they've put on top of it.
Primer, so I make sure it has a nice surface to stick to, and then you just make sure you're dry between coats and you don't go too thick.
And do you seal it with something at the end, or?
I do. It doesn't. I wouldn't say it helps very much, to be honest. But I do use just a spray varnish. It's
Sorry, this is the boring part, but I was just interested.
Yeah.
In, technically,
no,
how does
that
work?
A lot of technical stuff goes into making a mural. A lot of people think, you just get out a paintbrush and you paint the wall, but there's so much
the whole
behind
point
the scenes stuff
of talking to people in this detail of a podcast, where you can just pick at people's brains. I've never met anyone who paints murals, so I love art too. I've been a creative person into crafts, scrapbooking, painting, pottery my whole life. So some people don't.
I'm looking at your Instagram, and one of my favorites, it's in Sanford, I guess, and this is a citrus mural.
Mm-hmm. It looks like citrus in a wave.
Yes.
I love this.
Thank you.
It looks very precise, and so one of the reasons why I bring this up is when you're going to town on this, you have to do some prep work. You're sketching on the wall, right? Before you put brush to wall.
I do. So I actually use a projector.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask if you did.
So
that's a good idea.
What I do is I like to actually see how the piece is going to look on the wall before I ever put paint on the wall. So I take a picture of the wall, I measure it, and then I put it in my Procreate app on iPad. I create dimensions that are that exact wall, put the picture in, and then I literally do my sketching and drawing on the wall. That way I can kind of see
that's cool.
exactly what it's going to look like with its surrounding environment.
So it kind of starts in the computer.
Exactly, yep. And so I draw it up, and then I just put it on the projector. For that one, that was a little difficult because it was a very long piece. You can't just project one image.
It looks pretty difficult because I do, having looked at it before.
What is this, like a breezeway? It says?
It is. It's at City Hall. It's on City Hall. It was the very first
in Sanford
Sanford ever did. So it's a pretty big deal for them to actually like start embracing public art to do it on their city hall.
Yeah, it's cool. I just like the vibrance of it, and
Thank you.
I like the citrus. Obviously, the citrus ties into Florida. Mm-hmm.
So do you ever work with other artists, or when you do a mural, you do the entire thing start to finish alone?
So all of my murals have been by myself except for the Thornton Park suffrage mural that I did, and that was with the Female Art Collective that I just started. It's just a group of female artists. There's 3 of us. We all come from different backgrounds. One of us is actually just a graphic designer. She had never painted on a wall before, but we just got together and wanted to do something. And so we started what's called WISP Orlando. It stands for What Is She Painting? Mm-hmm. And it's just a way it was a way for me to show Orlando that there are very talented and capable female artists in this town, because I don't think Orlando really knows that. So I wanted.
Well, you better know, Orlando.
Yes, I'm here to.
We're
show
here.
Girl power, we're here, and we can do everything the boys are doing.
Well, I think in general it's important because one of the reasons behind this podcast is we talk about Disney and we talk about the parks, but that is really the context of what people think about Orlando. They think it's just the parks, it's just tourism, it's just but we are so much more, and that's kind of why we're called Orlando Out of Context, because we're going to talk and even if we do talk about the parks, it's from a different perspective than what we would normally think of the parks, because we've been around. So I think it's great that you are putting that initiative together, because we need more people to come together and just kind of showcase what we do have here in the city.
I agree.
Awesome. I love it.
So where do you sell your art? Do you go to farmers markets and stuff like that, or art shows?
I used to. I've hung in a couple of galleries. I really don't do the gallery thing very often. I have a hard time. I actually get rid of my pieces kind of on my own, so I'll start getting a collection together for a gallery, and then I'll sell pieces out of it, and so it never really works out. But I used to do the Thornton Park Wine and Art Walk. It's really, really cool. You get like a little glass, $15. They fill you up, and you walk around to all the businesses.
Oh, nice.
And they fill up your glass, and there's all type of artist vendors there. So I used to set up there. It's the very first place I ever sold my art, and I would say like every other month that I did it, I would sell a piece or two. So it was actually very successful. I don't do it as much anymore because my art has like gone from these small little 15 by 20s to these giant pieces that I can hardly fit in my car.
Yeah.
So I don't like to really take those to a lot of events. I just kind of sell them on my own. The last piece I sold was huge. It was a 48 by 60 castle. That's somewhere in there. Right there.
Like this one?
Yep.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's inspired by stained glass mosaic. It's the biggest piece I've ever done on canvas. So I just sold that one to a collector right here in Orlando.
Yeah,
it reminds me of when we had I'm not sure what celebration it was. It was when we were in our college program, and they had the stained glass window.
Disneyland's 50th.
On the castle.
Yeah, Disneyland's 50th, I think.
That gives me those vibes.
I love stained glass. I've never actually made stained glass art myself, but a lot of my canvas work is inspired by stained glass and mosaics. I like the idea of making it look like it's a bunch of
You can
small
see here
pieces
the
put
size
together.
of it.
Oh, yeah, it's huge.
Oh, yeah, it's big. So then you have a few Disney pieces here. So maybe ever become a official Disney artist, like what is it? The store at Disney Springs, Art of Disney. Yeah,
that would be cool.
I wonder how
There's
difficult that is.
a lot of pieces in there by a lot of different artists.
There are. I've had people suggest it, and I have all these ideas of things I want to do with my art and places I want to be and goals, but I have a hard time actually focusing on one. So, and I get very caught up with my public art. So, I feel like my canvas work is really almost more like a side hobby.
Right. Well, I mean, it's different stages of your career. I'm sure you're going to have different focuses. And right now, if the murals are booming, then you might as well,
take it while it's hot.
Exactly.
The bigger the project, the better. So, and walls are a lot bigger than canvas.
Yeah. And, I think that the walls are... I don't know if I would call it a trend, but it's definitely like it's definitely at its top game now,
Oh, for sure.
Because
everybody wants a mural.
Yeah, everyone
it
wants
helps get you exposure on Instagram,
Yeah.
Well, I think that the reason for them is probably a lot to do with Instagram.
It does.
Yeah, I mean, it's
good selfie wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why people want it. They want people to hang around their downtown or hang around their business, and they want people to take pictures, and then they want people to say...
It's a genius, really.
Yeah, they want people to say, oh, where did you take that picture? Well, I took it here. Well, I'm going to go there, and then the person is downtown now, and potentially giving money to the business.
Exactly.
So,
and it just creates a sense of community.
Sure.
I like that. It just... It gives people something new to look at, to enjoy, to talk about, and I really like that. I like that it can be such a community type of project rather than just sitting at home painting on a canvas.
So when you were with the girls painting that mural that you did with them, did you separate out different pieces of the mural that you would focus on, and then the other two would focus on their own pieces?
We kind of did, but we kind of all agreed on kind of one cohesive style from the beginning. So we decided, okay, it's going to have this vibe, this feel, this is how we're going to execute it. So we work really well together, and our styles are different, but they also are very similar in a lot of ways. So we actually all came up with our own different designs, and it was one of the girls, Sarah Berlin. She's done some murals around town too, very talented artist. She was the one that actually came up with our final rendering. We did have another rendering for that. It was like some female fists, power fists, with some I voted stickers and flowers. We wanted it feminine and powerful. But there were some concerns that it might be a little too in your face, a little too aggressive, which, anytime you say girl power, that's going to step on some toes. And, maybe one day we could get there. But no, it was an honor to be able to do that. And we worked really well together as a group to kind of come together and make decisions as a team. It was a very interesting project.
So when you start painting, with two other people, do you go in and say, okay, I'm gonna start here, you'll start there, and then we'll meet somewhere? Or
we kind of just would take for that one, it was basically just portraits and flowers. So we all kind of took a different flower. Maybe a couple of us did 2 flowers, a couple of us did 3, and we might come up, like one of us might paint and the other comes up and does the line work. I did a lot of the line work in that one because it's what I enjoy doing. I'm good at it, and the girls, they have their strengths in color shading, so we just kind of naturally fell into our own roles.
On the Sanford one, I can definitely, where you say that you're good at lines, the Sanford one is very much a line piece because
very clean.
Yeah, it's very clean, and it's everything has a black line separating,
like a coloring book.
Yeah, kind of like a coloring book.
It's very illustrative. A lot of people ask me, what's your style, and that's the best way I can describe it. Just very illustrative. I like it to be happy and fun, not too realistic.
So last October we went to the Creative City project. Did you take part in that?
I did not. I actually went to the meeting for artists with one of the girls in my group. And she had this really cool idea for a project, but it was going to be very extensive, very expensive, and we got so caught up with our Thornton Park mural that we just didn't have time to submit. But I think it's going to be really cool this year.
I'm looking forward to taking part 100% this year.
Are we going to go this year?
I would like to. So I actually did a 5K in the morning, and then we went to this event in the evening.
Wow.
And I think I had I 100% think I had a heat stroke.
We had to put her in an Uber and send her away.
I had to take an Uber home. I was so sick. I was laying on the floor in this, what was it? The Corksicle had a selfie room where you go in the room and they have 3 floors of selfie walls. I was I was about to die. So
you need a do-over on that.
I need a do-over, and I'm ready because what I did see was cool, and I really enjoyed it.
I think they're going big this year. It looks like they've got a lot of big acts coming, so I'm excited.
Yeah, it's a cool event. When is it? Do you know?
I think it is. It's in October.
Probably in October again.
Okay.
September,
I started seeing some things rolling in on their Instagram.
I think I saw one thing.
So yeah, I want to go.
So
same.
before you came on, I had asked last week if you were working on anything. So are you working on anything specifically right now?
I am working on a few projects. I'm like all over the place. I have a really hard time staying focused on one project. I've got 2 commissions that I'm kind of in between, and I've got like a personal project I'm working on canvas. I'm trying to add to my City Beautiful collection, which is just basically my stained glass style of scenescapes around Orlando.
Okay.
But I keep selling pieces out of that one, so I'm like keep trying to add back into it. But that's pretty much what I'm working on right now.
I guess that's a good problem to have if you keep selling pieces and this is this is what you do. So that's really great.
Exactly. So I can't complain about that. But I'm definitely working on some ideas for murals coming up. Trying to get booked up through the rest of the year. I have a lot of meetings coming up, so hopefully in the next few months.
Yeah, I had asked you that because I was like, well, it might be good to go down and like take a picture of her working if she was going to work like this weekend or
I'm finally taking
last
a
week.
break. I did the Thornton Park mural in June, and then immediately after that was done, which that took a month, I started on the College Park mural, and I didn't have like any break in between, and I lost like 15 pounds.
Wow.
I gained this like gnarly tan, so I was kind of happy to like take a break for a little while, building that scaffolding every day.
So do you have a studio where you live? Like in-house studio?
Makeshift studio. I live in a small little place. It's actually, we haven't moved since we got to Orlando. We've been in the same place, and it's cozy. It's in College Park.
How long have you been living in Orlando?
About 5 years.
Okay.
So it works. We've kind of outgrown it.
You came all the way from College Park to come see us here?
I did.
Thank you.
Oh, we appreciate that.
I got on I-4 and that traffic.
You deserve a gold star. Nobody wants to get on I-4
Oh,
ever.
God, it was a terror.
Hopefully you were listening to a podcast or something.
Yeah, see, I don't get on I-4 often because pretty much everywhere I go is...
It's right in that area.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, 5-10 minutes on the road if I want to go downtown, or, Mills Colonial where I do all my shopping. So I don't really have to do I-4 very often.
So this leads us into the portion of the game where we're going to ask you some of your favorites of Orlando.
Okay.
So since you have been here for 5 years, I think you should have some decent answers.
And where you live, like where you live.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I kind of
So-
live in the hub of what is Orlando.
Exactly.
So.
Maybe what's your favorite restaurant?
Oh, man, that is
Speed
so
round.
tough. Oh, let's go with Gringos.
What's that?
Gringos Locos Tacos.
I hate tacos.
Oh, no.
If there was one thing in the world I would never eat forever, it's tacos.
Well,
Or Mexican food in general.
Stephanie's not a Stephanie's not a foodie.
Okay.
Not at all.
So what do you eat, though?
I mean, just basic things. Chicken, vegetables,
Shrimp.
that's
I
it.
love
like
chicken. I
shrimp.
love pasta.
Shrimp. I don't eat pasta, really.
Wow. Oh, my gosh. You and I would never be able to eat together. I could never cook for you.
So Gringos, you like Gringos?
I love Gringos. I like a good quesadilla and good queso.
I like a chicken and cheese quesadilla.
That's what I like. I don't
Okay,
like anything
then
on
we
my-
can
yeah,
eat.
just chicken and cheese. I don't want your guac. I don't want your sour cream.
There we
or
go.
lettuce.
So maybe this is a place that we
Just
can check
chicken and
out with
cheese.
you.
Okay, I can do chicken and cheese on
I will
a
literally
piece of
eat
bread.
a chicken quesadilla like every meal and be totally happy. Like I'll go on vacation and everywhere we eat, it's just chicken quesadilla. That's what I want.
I can do that.
Give me some good queso. We're golden.
So any bars downtown that you like or your preference?
So I don't go to a lot of bars. My husband and I love GB's Bottle Shop in Ivanhoe.
Okay.
I love it there. It's just a chill atmosphere. They're like one of the only places I can find that ever has mead on tap, and which is very rare. And I love mead. So
Is that beer?
No, it's a honey wine.
Honey wine.
It's usually pretty sweet. I like craft mead.
Right up your alley.
Ding, 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 ding.
They have this awesome, it's like a peanut butter and jelly mead. And it literally tastes like a PB&J in a glass. It's not grape, it's blueberry. And it is so smooth.
Write this down.
It's called peanut butter jelly crime. And they don't have it on tap anymore. And
So where am I supposed to get
cheap. You get it at Total Wine. It's like $50 a bottle.
Oh,
wow.
But,
She closes her notebook and says, "Never mind."
it is worth it. I get it on special occasions.
Is it like an ice wine? Is it in the ice wine category or
Yeah, I mean,
dessert wine?
like
or
a dessert wine.
Because
basically-
that's why I would guess it would be so expensive.
It's very,
Because usually ice wine is very
honey
expensive.
Is very expensive. And
True.
it also takes a very long time to make it.
Is Is it in a smaller bottle than like regular
it's
wine?
Like 750.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but it's also like 12% alcohol. So it's not like your typical wine that's like 6%. You know, you get messed up.
I mean, this is why we ask these questions of like, what's your favorite? Because then we get into these little conversations about, you know, I call them pro tips. You know, we like to call them pro tips. So that's awesome.
I love GBs. They have a good beer.
I never heard of GBs.
Definitely go. Good beer selection. I don't drink beer, but they also have wine and cider and mead sometimes. So
is it a smaller place?
It is. Yeah, it's pretty small, but yeah, it's like right down the road from my house, like biking distance. We'll bike down there and have a few drinks and bike home. So
cool.
Yeah.
So, are you a Disney person? Because you've done Disney art.
Disney. I love Disney.
Are you a pass holder?
I am. Well, actually, currently, I am not. I just found out a few days ago that my pass expired, and I didn't know it. Uh-oh. So now I have to go renew and pay the down payment again.
Oh, really? Because they give you 30 days grace period.
Yeah, and it's been like
past that.
Yeah, because I got married and I was doing murals. So, and I don't go during the summer anyway. Right. I had like the platinum plus the big.
Get the silver. I have the silver.
I'm just gonna downgrade. I don't need weekends. I don't need summer. I don't need all that. So,
yeah.
But I do
hot
Disney.
And crowded.
You could even do a weekday.
Yeah, we did have weekday select pass for a while. We were wanting to go this week. We like to go to Disney Springs for date night, though. I love Disney
What's your
Springs.
favorite restaurant at Disney Springs?
Oh, that's tough. I hate to say it, but I love going to T-Rex because they have an awesome quesadilla. Like, they're such better restaurants.
Man.
Really? You literally just want quesadillas? Okay.
You know what? Splitsville is really good.
Is it really?
They have good
have you not been there?
No.
Sushi, cheese fries, chicken fingers.
It's kind of like you wouldn't think that a bowling alley type place would have good food, but Splitsville, even their sushi, if you like sushi, it's a good sushi.
Okay.
Yeah, and their pizza's good. They used to have a pulled pork sandwich that our friend Debbie would get all the time, which they've taken it off the menu, but it was really good. Good menu.
Okay. See, my go-to at Disney Springs, every time I go, first thing I have to do is go to Savannah Bee Company because they have mead tasting there. Mm-hmm. So you can go and do like 5 different meads, try the different flavors.
Oh, so they actually have that.
They have mead tasting there.
So you can go taste it at the honey shop.
It's like
I've never seen it. All I've ever seen is honey on the shelf. Maybe I'm not looking in the right place.
Yeah, just walk to the back and like ask them if they do a tasting. They'll have the bottles out, and it's like $10, and you get like 5 or 6 samples.
Yeah, we could do that.
Oh,
it's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's definitely something to do at Disney Springs.
Very cool. So, anything like right now that you kind of want to plug or that you want people to know about? Where can they, if they wanted you to commission something, do you have like a website?
Yeah, KristiPaintsOrlando.com. Okay. Very easy. You can reach me on Instagram, Facebook.
What are you going to do when you move to South Carolina?
Kristi
Paints North Carolina.com?
No, I've thought about that. It's going to be a little while, probably, maybe like a year or so, maybe not. We'll
she
see,
can have different divisions.
I plan on kind of like splitting my time. My goal is to kind of,
be an early snowbird,
start something there, and then like come back here for projects because I just started WISP Orlando, and that's a whole other thing. So.
I like that. I like the idea of splitting time between two places.
Why not? I feel like I could get tired of both places. I get tired of, one place very easily. So I could totally see being between two, maybe building a tiny house here or something.
Yeah.
Having an apartment studio to come back to.
Definitely.
Would be nice. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
This is
so much fun. Oh,
I wanted to, one more thing.
Whoa.
Kristi, along with us, was nominated for Orlando, the Best of Orlando.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking about that today. We need to plug people going to vote. So
after you go vote for us under Best Podcast, you're going to go to what category?
The local, or it's the arts and
culture, I think it is.
Category, yes. It's a very first thing you can vote for on the Best of is Best Local Visual Artist.
Cool.
And it's so cool because when last year when they had the Best of Orlando Weekly, I looked at that list and I remember thinking, I want to be on that list. Like, I'm going to make a goal to be on that list.
Yes, girl.
I give myself 3 years. I said, okay, in 3 years, I want to be on that list. And it happened in a year. And I was like, yes, let's do this.
That's so funny because that happened with our first time we were ever on Orlando Weekly. It was an article about the top 25 Instagrams,
IGs,
locals
should be
locals
following.
should be following. And Stephanie looked at it and said to herself, "Well, I want to be on the list." And so as she was flipping through, we were on the list.
No way! Isn't that such a great feeling?
I messaged him like a snapshot of it. I was like, I want to be on this list. And then
Seconds
I texted
later.
it to him, and then I started flipping through the list to see who was on the list. I was like, oh my God, that's my picture on the
so
list.
Great. It's like when you think nobody's like really paying attention to what you're doing, you know, and things like that happen. It's
sometimes it's kind of difficult here in the podcast world to like know who's listening or who's not, and that's why we encourage people to go interact with us on Instagram. But because I see people are listening, but then there's no way to get that.
Nobody interacts. Like it kind of sucks because I wish that everyone that was listening was in front of us right now and they could raise their hand for questions. They could hoot and holler,
thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, like. But so head over to
Orlando
Weekly and go ahead and look at all the categories. I mean, there's like a ton of categories.
There's so many categories.
But and also one of the girls in my Wisp group, Melissa, Brunchzilla is her Instagram. She's nominated for best Instagram feed.
Okay,
I'll give her a little shout out.
Cool.
Maybe we should have her on the podcast.
She's fabulous. She does some really cool graphic design work. So I'll give her a plug. Definitely go follow her on Instagram.
Okay. Yeah, definitely follow. Anyone else to plug for Orlando Weekly to vote on the best of? Do we have any?
You can vote for GB's Bottle Shop. I think they're on the list for best. I want to say it's best bar. I'm not sure.
Gosh, there's so many categories.
There's so many.
There's a lot of categories.
It's really hard to.
But go explore. Vote for us. Vote for Kristi. Vote for her friend.
Awesome.
So as soon as you get into a safe place while you're listening, don't do it now while you're driving. If you're listening,
or
to
you
us
can
while
just
driving,
pull over on the side of the road right now.
As long as it's safe, and go to OrlandoWeekly.com. Go ahead and vote because I think voting ends pretty soon, like 6th, August 6th or so. So go vote. Yes. Vote for us. Vote for Kristi. Vote for everyone in different categories. All those different categories. So, well, Kristi, thank you so much for voting.
I voted too, so
thank you
so
much.
vote for you guys. I don't even know if I voted for podcasts. So.
Here you go, right here.
You guys got another vote in me. This place is awesome and cozy, so you guys are really cool.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're happy to meet our first muralist.
Yeah,
I'm so glad I was.
Is that what we call you, a muralist?
Sure,
an artist, I guess.
Yeah,
Artist, muralist. But I mean, I'm other artists, but you're the first, I think, muralist.
I love it. That's great.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, listening. Where are we?
You keep saying that every week. I think in somewhere deep in your psyche, you want to be on a TV show.
You want to be on the screen.
Got big dreams. Reaching for the stars.
All right. Well, until next time. Bye.
Bye.
Follow us on Instagram at Orlando Out of Context. Instagram is where you can connect and interact with us, as well as see photos and videos related to this week's episode. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, and iHeartRadio.
We need cue cards.
So fun.
Like this.
Bye.
Because most people don't get it.
Nobody ever wants to say bye with us.